I want you to understand something that happened in the Red Sea between May 1st and May 7th that represents a fundamental shift in naval power projection and that has immediate implications for American military credibility across every maritime theater from the South China Sea to the Persian Gulf. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group, one of 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers that form the backbone of American naval supremacy, was operating in the Red Sea, conducting what the Navy described as freedom of navigation operations and counter-Houthi interdiction missions. On May 7th, that carrier group received orders to withdraw to a position east of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, effectively ceding control of the Red Sea to Houthi forces and Iranian naval assets. The reason for that withdrawal, according to multiple intelligence sources and leaked operational assessments, is that Iran deployed 75 autonomous submarine drones throughout the Red Sea in positions where the carrier group's defensive systems could not reliably detect or neutralize them before they posed an unacceptable threat to the Eisenhower itself. This is the first time in the post-World War II era that an American aircraft carrier has been forced to retreat from a theater due to a credible threat from a non-state actor using asymmetric weapons. And the silence from the Pentagon tells you everything you need to know about how catastrophic this development is for American naval strategy. In the next 19 minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly what Iran deployed, why American anti-submarine warfare capabilities are failing against this new class of autonomous underwater vehicles, and why every American carrier strike group is now operating under the shadow of a vulnerability that did not exist 6 months ago. This is the analysis that requires you to think about the future of naval warfare, not just the present crisis. Subscribe now, because what we are covering is based on naval intelligence assessments, public ship tracking data, and technical specifications that reveal a weapon system the U.S. Navy has no effective counter for. Let's start with what these submarine drones actually are, because the technology is sophisticated and the threat is real. According to Iranian state media and confirmed by independent naval analysts, the drones deployed in the Red Sea are a variant of what Iran calls the Shahed 136 underwater autonomous vehicle, though calling it a drone undersells its capability. These are torpedo-shaped submersibles, approximately 4 meters long, capable of operating at depths between 50 and 300 meters, with an operational range of over 1,000 kilometers and the ability to loiter silently for up to 60 days on battery power. They carry warheads ranging from 50 to 150 kilograms, and critically, they operate autonomously or in swarms coordinated through encrypted underwater acoustic communication that is nearly impossible to jam or intercept. The Eisenhower Strike Group operates with standard anti-submarine warfare protocols, which include sonar-equipped destroyers and cruisers, SH-60 Seahawk helicopters with dipping sonar, and P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft. Those systems are designed to detect and track traditional submarines, which emit noise from propellers, generate thermal signatures, and operate with predictable patrol patterns. The Iranian submarine drones do not fit that profile. They sit motionless on the seabed for days or weeks, emit no noise, generate minimal thermal signature, and activate only when their acoustic sensors detect a target signature matching a pre-programmed profile, such as the unique acoustic signature of a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. According to Jane's Defense Weekly, Iran began testing these systems in the Strait of Hormuz as early as 2021, but deployment to the Red Sea represents a significant escalation in both geographic reach and operational sophistication. The 75 drones identified by U.S. intelligence through a combination of satellite reconnaissance and signal intelligence are distributed across a 400-kilometer stretch of the Red Sea, from the Bab el-Mandeb Strait north to the Suez Canal approaches, creating what naval analysts are calling an underwater minefield that no surface vessel can safely traverse without accepting catastrophic risk. Announcement number 1. The USS Eisenhower's withdrawal was not a routine repositioning. It was an emergency redeployment ordered by CENTCOM after a classified naval intelligence assessment concluded that the probability of a successful strike against the carrier by Iranian submarine drones exceeded the acceptable risk threshold established by the Pentagon for carrier operations in hostile waters. That threshold, according to leaked documents published by The Intercept, is set at 15%, meaning that if there is a greater than 15% chance that a carrier could be hit by an attack it cannot defend against, the carrier is withdrawn from the theater. The assessment that triggered the Eisenhower's withdrawal estimated the risk at 40% based on the density of deployed drones, the limitations of current U.S. anti-submarine warfare capabilities, and the fact that the drones can operate in shallow waters where traditional sonar is least effective due to thermal layers and acoustic clutter from the seabed. The Eisenhower left the Red Sea on May 7th and is currently operating in the Gulf of Aden, east of the Bab el-Mandeb choke point, in deeper waters where detection is easier and where the drone threat is reduced but not eliminated. What makes this even more significant is that the Eisenhower Strike Group was specifically deployed to the Red Sea in response to Houthi attacks on commercial shipping. The entire point of having a carrier there was to project power, deter attacks, and demonstrate American commitment to freedom of navigation. By withdrawing, the United States has effectively conceded that it cannot protect commercial shipping in the Red Sea from Houthi attacks as long as Iran maintains its submarine drone presence. That is not a tactical retreat. That is a strategic defeat. Received. That is announcement number one. Announcement number two, and this is where the implications extend beyond this single incident to the future of carrier-based naval power. The U.S. Navy operates 11 aircraft carriers, each representing an investment of roughly $13 billion, not including the cost of the aircraft, support vessels, and crew. Those carriers are the centerpiece of American military dominance, enabling power projection anywhere in the world within days. But that dominance is predicated on the assumption that carriers are defendable against the threats they face. If carriers can be threatened by weapons that cost a fraction of their value and that existing defensive systems cannot reliably counter, then the entire carrier-centric model of naval warfare becomes obsolete. An Iranian submarine drone costs an estimated $50,000 to $200,000 to produce, depending on the sophistication of the sensors and warhead. 75 drones represent a total investment of perhaps $15 million. Compare that to the $13 billion value of a Nimitz-class carrier, and you have an asymmetry of over 800 to 1. Iran can afford to lose 100 drones and still come out ahead strategically if even one of them successfully hits a carrier. The United States cannot afford to lose a single carrier, both in terms of financial cost and in terms of the geopolitical consequences of that loss. Naval analysts at the Hudson Institute published a report in March 2026 warning that autonomous underwater vehicles represented an emerging threat to surface vessels that current defensive technologies were not adequately prepared to address. The report noted that traditional anti-submarine warfare relies on active sonar, which broadcasts sound waves and listens for echoes, but that this approach is ineffective against small, stationary objects that do not return strong echoes and that can be confused with natural underwater features like rocks or kelp. The report recommended urgent investment in new detection technologies, including synthetic aperture sonar, underwater acoustic networks, and AI-driven pattern recognition, but acknowledged that deploying such systems fleet-wide would take years and cost tens of billions of dollars. The Eisenhower withdrawal demonstrates that the threat is not theoretical. It is operational. And the U.S. Navy's response is to avoid the threat rather than defeat it, which is an acknowledgement that current capabilities are insufficient.